Coming up on this week's episode, we review the games from this weekend. Have Liverpool won the title as Man City, Leicester and Chelsea all failed to win? We look at the EFL action and can Yeovil grab a win in the National League? Pete has another teaser. Let's keep it easy this week, Pete. I have more wonders of white, and we look to see if Hayden knocked Adam off the top spot in predictions. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to episode 18 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Liam is back. Hello, Liam.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you, Liam. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit better result for us, so I've been a bit happier this week.
Not me, mate, I'm afraid. Yeah. It's another sore one for me this weekend, but there is obviously Premier League games going on tonight. The Chelsea-Arsenal game is currently on the TV, so apologies if you hear some cheering or jeering. That will be me. Hopefully can bounce back and get the 3 points tonight. So we'll see how that one goes. I'm sure you'll know what the score is by the end of the pod anyway. So, Pete, please make this teaser very easy for us as you're currently 8 to our 4.5. So what have you got this week?
Since the Premier League started, which player is Northern Ireland's top scorer in the Premier League?
Okay. Northern Ireland scorer in the Premier League. Oof.
I think I've got an idea.
So you got an idea. I've got an idea, but I'm not sure.
I think I've seen this before. I think this is something I've either watched or something before.
That's good, because it has happened to us before where he's given us one and I've actually researched it before, and I've actually given the same teaser to Rich in the last series, so it can happen. So
hopefully I've not just completely blown my own trumpet and I have no idea now.
Yeah,
awfully wrong.
So just an update on last week. Liam actually did get the correct score on the teaser, and unfortunately he was blindsided by me by telling him he should always add on a couple of points. So probably should go with what you're going to say this week anyway. So sorry about
that. Apology accepted. It's fine.
So we'll move into the Premier League review. Lots to talk about, but we'll start at probably what was the biggest game of the weekend, so the Liverpool Man United game. Again, obviously it's another win for Liverpool, despite, I would say, not playing at their best. I thought actually Man United played quite well in this one. I thought Fred and Matic had good games, but there was one talking point, which is the so-called foul on De Gea by Virgil van Dijk. I've seen it, and for me, I honestly can't see how a foul was given. His arms aren't in the air. He doesn't seem to be impeding De Gea that much, to be fair. And I don't know what you thought about it.
Well, I am firmly in the goalkeepers' union, as you know.
Oh no!
But personally, I think he's got to be stronger there. Like you say, I think that's just two people going for the ball. I think he's got the advantage. He can jump with his arms in the air and catch the ball above head height. The fact that he's not been able to do that, I think, is probably more his fault than anything. I know Van Dijk's tall, but I think he does have to be a little bit stronger there. I can see why it's given. There's a lot of protection for goalkeepers these days, but the thing that confused me more than anything is he got booked for protesting that the goal had been given, and then the goal got ruled out, and then he's still on a yellow card.
Yeah, I did think that when it happened.
It made me laugh. I just thought that is because VAR looks at everything now. If you're a player, you are aware of it, surely, that if there is a contentious decision, they're going to have a look at it. There's no point in running up to the referee. It's just a stupid yellow card. I think the fact that he maybe demonstrated so much almost showed that he felt he was guilty. I don't. Maybe not. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But for me, yeah, that's not a foul.
Yeah, I didn't think it was, to be fair. And but like I said, I thought Man United played well, but obviously they get caught for the last goal. Salah, he's away. Daniel James can't really do much other than just keep up with him for pace. But a really nice finish from Salah. What about obviously the news that Marcus Rashford is probably going to be out for 7, maybe 8 weeks? A huge blow to Manchester United.
Yeah, you struggle to see where they're going to replace him. He's been so important for them. Whether they'll try and get someone in January, I don't know. It's probably a little bit too late for that. But they need to get him back scoring again if they have got any chance of getting further up the league. And I think for England as well, it's better to have a fit Rashford going into any tournament than
Definitely
someone who's just come back from injury. So I hope he is back and playing quickly, because we've had it before where we've gone into international tournaments and players have maybe played the last game of the season and they've been taken on an international tournament and they've just not looked fit as they normally are.
no.
So I hope it's not another case, and we're going to have the same with Kane as well.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden our plethora of strikers is
Well, the Kane one is one for me where I think he may go, but not in the capacity where he'll play any part in it on the pitch. Maybe just as sort of an advisory role or something. I think it'd be worth taking him either way. But
he is the captain for a reason. I think that it would be good to have him around the dressing room, even if.
So obviously everyone's talking about it now. It was this the weekend that Liverpool, I think, can firmly say that they've won the title. 16 points, game in hand, don't look like losing. So I think if there was a slight hope for any team, obviously with the results that they went this weekend, I think it is all but over now.
Yeah, I think it is. I think looking at the fixtures that Liverpool have got left, really you can only see them slipping up against potentially Man City. And we've said that once already this season, and they played Man City and, played them off the park, really. I still think they're going to go unbeaten. I think the title is basically in their hands. I think they can start celebrating now, really. It's such a big points difference. It's going to be one of the major collapses in world football if they don't win it from here.
Oh yeah, no, I think definitely questions us if they didn't win it from here.
Yeah, and mind you, saying that, you look at where Leeds were a few months ago in the Championship and how far clear they were, and look at them. Things can change, but you've got to say with the squad that Liverpool have got, when Daniel James is one of the quickest players in the Premier League, and Salah has, with the ball, gone stride for stride with him and scored. When you've got your goalkeeper assist like that in the 94th minute or whatever it was, got players who can do that. The confidence is like you expect every game.
And Alisson, the quickest player on the pitch to get to Mo Salah to celebrate the goal.
Yeah,
I love that. I literally seen it, like, to him just sliding in on the bottom of the picture. I think, where the hell has he come from? But yeah, it was that was a good moment for him.
Brilliant. And on a couple of months ago when I was on here, I was mentioning that Ben Foster had more shots on target than Jesse Lingard. Well, Alisson's got more assists than Jesse Lingard this season. So I'm going on the theme of goalkeepers doing more things than Jesse Lingard can do. So yeah, that ticks my boxes. Brilliant.
Well, we'll move on to the Man City Palace game. Strange one, this one that you wouldn't have expected Man City to drop points on, but I think the way that some of the games have gone for them this season, it's not really that surprising. But obviously, Palace taking the lead, then Man City equalising. Obviously, Aguero getting his 250th and 251st goal for them. But Palace, great build-up for the Fernandinho goal. He put it into his own net. I have just got to stop you there because there is a penalty at Chelsea. David Luiz has been sent off. Oh no! He's just been sent off at Stamford Bridge.
Oh dear.
We'll come back to that in a minute. But yeah, like I said, Fernandinho own goal, a great point for Palace.
Yeah, they seem to be a bit of a bogey side for Man City. I remember them getting, I think, did they win at Man City last season when Townsend scored that absolute
Oh, that
quality?
rocket! It was a rocket, wasn't it?
Yeah, they always seem to turn up against Man City, and Man City always seem to struggle. And to be fair, I only managed to catch the highlights of this. If it wasn't for Aguero, Man City would have lost comfortably. I thought Palace more than deserved a point out of it, to be honest. If it had stayed 2-1, I think they would have been very, very unlucky to have come out of it with nothing. They put a proper shift in. And it's just when you have Aguero in a side, you're never out of it, obviously. But how important has he been for them over the years? How many times have we seen them do that?
It's going to be such a big loss for when I know that they've got the almost pinning their hopes on Gabriel Jesus, but he's not Aguero. I think they need to realise that as soon as possible, because when Aguero goes, it's not going to be good for them. They're going to need to find a world-class striker.
He's missed a penalty tonight, I think, Jesus as well. So he's really full at the moment. But yeah, the defending from City's point of view, when you're reigning champions, obviously they've lost Vincent Kompany, who, although he was injured quite a lot towards the end of his Man City career, probably didn't play as much as he would have liked to have done. Do you think they need a centre half in January, or do you think they're going to wait until summer?
No, I think they'll wait. They've got plenty of centre halves. I think to come back. But yeah, no, I think they'll be all right. I can't see him buying too many players, to be honest.
I just think that with Fernandinho, obviously he's a great player. I'm not blaming him for the own goal or anything, but he is playing out of position. And you've conceded 2 goals at home to Crystal Palace, who aren't the most free scoring of teams. Maybe they will wait until the summer, but I really think they miss Kompany a lot, and I think they need his leadership more than anything. I think they need to look for a big centre half coming in January or in the summer.
They definitely have missed Laporte. I think that's very clear to see. So yeah. Well, just before we move on to the Saints Wolves game, Chelsea did score that penalty. Jorginho scoring, and David Luiz has been sent off. So it's a really, really bad back pass from Mustafi. He's gone to kick it back to the goalkeeper. He's put no pace on it, and Abraham got past the keeper. David Luiz brought him down in the box, and VAR did look at it and agreed with the referee that he should be sent off, but not a great return for him back to Stamford Bridge. So, yeah.
My fantasy league, Jorginho with a goal and Abraham with the assist, and they're both in my fantasy league teams. That's great news for me. We'll see
how that goes now, but yeah, to be fair, if he hadn't brought Abraham down, Abraham was going to score anyway. So, yeah, so 1-0 that. We'll move on to the Six Wolves game. Yikes! To be a Saints fan this season, eh? You've seen some pretty decent games, but unfortunately, not all the results have gone your way. I have to say though, Adama Traore, week in, week out, putting in really, really solid performances. And one of my favourite players probably in the Premier League at the moment. Everything about that second half for Wolves was to do with him. But yeah, I don't know what your take on the game was.
Yeah, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant, and he showed flashes of it when he was at Villa. But I don't think even the most optimistic at Villa fans would have expected him to turn out into quite the player that he is. He's just when you've got that pace, it just worries absolutely everyone. And with Wolves, he's not the only player that can do something for them, because what suits him is Raul Jimenez just hitting the target every single time. Every time he gets half a chance, he seems to get on target. And he scored against Southampton. I think he scored the winning goal. I think he scored the final one. And he's a big player for them as well. They're just a great squad at the moment, Wolves. They just look. There's strength everywhere. There's pace out on the wing. They've got a good striker. They've got the passing in midfield with Moutinho and Neves is unreal at times, knocking those sort of crossfield. They remind me a bit of Steven Gerrard when he was at Liverpool, knocking those like 50-yard balls crossfield. And it was. I mean, what a game to watch! It looked nailed on. Southampton win 2-0 up at half time. I think they played really well. They pressured Wolves high up the pitch. And I don't know what was said at half time, whether they were told to sort of sit back and try and keep the lead, but that just gave Wolves a little bit of time to play.
I think that's, it didn't work. Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think Saints in the second half, they were almost a bit naive. They sat back far too much, let the likes of Adama Traore, Jimenez run at them, and they just fell apart, to be fair. Yeah, you have got to feel sorry for Saints, I think, a little bit this season. Obviously, the 9-1 against Leicester, not great, but obviously them beating Leicester last week as well. I thought maybe it was maybe might kickstart them a little bit, but
they've been on a good run recently. They've been on. I thought confidence would be high going into the Wolves game, and it was almost as if at half time that just disappeared, and I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, well, Wolves a great 3 points, but we'll move on to the team that Saints beat last week. That was Burnley-Leicester. Now, last week I did say that I thought that would just be a small blip for Leicester, but that didn't seem the case at the weekend. I thought they might bounce back, but they were quite poor going forward, and that's one strength that they've had all season is going forward and scoring plenty of goals. But so it's not right, and so it's not happening for them at the moment. But credit to Burnley, 3 points, well deserved.
Massive 3 points for them. Yeah, it was probably the shock result of the weekend for me. Leicester, obviously, like you said, I agreed with you last week. I thought it was just a temporary blip. But something seems to have happened to them where they're not potent going forward. Obviously, Vardy missed a penalty, and credit to Pope. Last week we sort of blamed him for the mistake against Chelsea, but he's come up with a massive step on the penalty spot this week.
Yeah. Obviously, Vardy missing the penalty, which is unlike him, but this, like I said, the free flowing football just seems to have stopped at the moment, and I think they've sort of got into old habits that they had pre-Brendan Rodgers. He must have been there now for almost a year, I reckon. It must be almost a year he's been there, I think, because I'm pretty sure it was sort of January, February he was hired. But but Burnley I thought were fantastic. They did what they needed to do, and obviously Sean Dyche would have been very, very happy with that.
Yeah, it's gone a long way to getting them clear of the relegation zone, and yeah, Leicester they would have seen this as a game that they should really be winning. But to be fair, Harvey Barnes, I thought, had a great game. His goal was brilliant.
Yeah, it was a really nice goal.
Opening goal of the game was fantastic. But Burnley are a physical side. It didn't really look like Leicester were up for it at the back. I think there was a few balls into the box where Burnley were first to it. Leicester just seemed to sort of, I don't know whether they're not the tallest at the back, and Burnley just sort of they seem to win the first and second balls, and I'm not quite sure what happened there. It's not really like Leicester because their work rate to this point has been good, but I think they said on Match of the Day actually they were the busiest over the Christmas period, and maybe that is catching up with them a little bit. Maybe they need a break.
Maybe because he did rest Chilwell and was it Chowdhury? I think he rested as well. So you can see he is trying to take care of the players. So I've just seen what's next.
I'll let you have a rant.
Well, I'll just say this: Everton are beating Newcastle 2-0 tonight, so thoroughly deserved for Everton. It was just an awful game to watch. Like the amount of chances that we didn't take, the amount of passes we were playing in and around their box, just couldn't penetrate them. They were just so well defended. They look really sharp at the back, Newcastle, and then obviously the killer blow for me. Obviously they get a corner in the 93rd minute and end up scoring. didn't clear the corner very well. Ball comes back in. For some reason, there's only one of our defenders trying to mark 3 of their players, and Isaac Hayden of all players. But I wasn't happy, to say the least.
Do you think that? I know Terry's left some years ago now, but with Cahill going in the summer as well, do you think we've spoken about leadership tonight? Is there a lack of leadership at the back? Maybe
Yeah.
yards out.
We've obviously got Azpilicueta, who is the captain at the moment. He's a good captain, but yeah, I kind of understand what you mean. I've always said this season that if that's one thing that we need to work on is probably getting another central defender and another left back in as well. But they don't seem to be going out there to sign anyone at the moment. So it doesn't even look like they're going to sign a winger or a striker. So yeah, just the game was really, really poor. And like I said, was not happy at the end. And that's just the way the game goes.
Do you think Kepa could have saved the header? It looked to me like he got a big hand to it.
He got a hand to it, didn't he? But it just wasn't enough. Yeah, I've got mixed feelings on Kepa. I think his the overall package is okay. It's when the ball's at his feet, I think he's at his most vulnerable. Is some of the times where he kicks the ball out, it's just awful. But he's got a good set of hands on him. Probably one of the better keepers in the league. He's nowhere near the best, but yeah. But most expensive goalkeeper in the world, so
yeah,
crazy, really.
They've got to, yeah. But to be fair to Newcastle, I don't know what to make of Newcastle this year. I don't know about you, Chris, but they seem to be such an odd side. They come up with results like this, and then obviously, like you said tonight, they're losing 2-0 to Everton. It's just, I suppose it's a classic Steve Bruce side, really, isn't it? It's just one win, followed by a loss, followed by another win. It was similar at Villa, but yeah, I don't. Do you think they've got enough to go on to the next level with Bruce in charge and with Ashley? Big club, and they don't deserve to be down there.
I think the thing is at the moment, mate, is the whole owner situation has been going on for so long now that the club has been up for sale for some time, and that doesn't seem to be going away. And obviously, with the owners wanting to leave, Mike Ashley, he's not going to be wanting to put money into the club as much as what he would if he was staying. So, I think transfer wise, I think they are going to have to sell to buy. So, yeah, it's going to be hard for Bruce to get them to that sort of next level. But for them, what isn't it? Is next level a top 10 finish, and then trying to push for a Europa? I don't really know. They're so up and down. It's not very consistent, really, are they? So it's always hard to measure really what they can actually do.
Yeah, I think Ashley's obviously wanted to sell the club for a little while, but I don't know. I don't know whether he's sort of making it up almost, because it's been going on for so long. You must have thought there must be someone out there.
Yeah, you've heard of people wanting to take over, but it's just nothing's never come of it. So yeah. I'm not really too sure, mate, to be honest. Hopefully they get it. Yeah, I think for the fans as well, it's not nice, is it? That obviously they've got all this. It's like they're in limbo really at the moment, but they're doing well at the moment for all obviously the crap that they have to take off the field. I think they are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So we'll go on to the Norwich Bournemouth game. 2 red cards in this game. 1 absolute stunning save by Steve Kirk. Not really too sure what to make of that. Obviously, he's done it to save the goal, but at the same time, he's got himself sent off, and they scored the penalty, which ends up winning the game for Norwich. So I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking, really.
Yeah,
personally, I don't think he should have done it. I thought it was quite a silly thing to do, but I don't know what you thought about it.
Yeah, I think maybe instinct has taken over. He's obviously on the floor and he's just seen the ball coming at him and just trying to keep it out any way he can. But yeah, it is daft. You'd obviously rather go 1-0 down with 11 men on the pitch than concede a penalty, get someone sent off.
Yeah, they were.
It's a funny moment, though. I mean, we're talking about it, and
Yeah,
it just
definitely.
really made me laugh.
The game itself was really poor anyway. Without the red cards, we probably wouldn't have been talking about this game for probably another 10, 15 minutes. But the other red card was for Godfrey, his tackle. It was one of those. It was a bit like the Aubameyang one last week. At first, you don't really see it, but it was good to see the referee using the monitor on the side of the pitch, and then obviously overturning the yellow card to a red.
Yeah, I think it was the right decision as well.
Definitely,
I think it was, you've got to be consistent, and if you are going to send Aubameyang off the week before, then for me it was similar.
Yeah,
and I think it was a red card. And I do just want to stop there, Chris, because I do believe that Aston Villa just equalised against Watford. I believe Douglas Luiz has scored, which, for a team without a striker, it's good news for me. So back in it. But yeah, I think the notes I made from this one were really about the big trouble that Bournemouth are in.
Yeah, this is bad. It's bad news for them as well.
Really bad news. And I thought, with Steve Cook, the daft thing is he's now suspended for 3 games, and he's going to be a huge loss. Like he is their main centre back, and he's going to be crucial. I think we've got them soon, and that is a 6th point this season, if ever there was one. So they're going to need all their players. But good win for Norwich. If they use this as a catalyst to go on and get a few more results, they may have a chance of staying up. But I don't know what they look like 2 sides that were in really big trouble to me.
I said that when after Norwich got the win at Man City, I said that they'd use this as a pillar to go on, and they haven't won since. So yeah, but Bournemouth are now in big trouble. But one team that aren't in trouble anymore, or haven't really been all season, Sheffield United. Picking up a really, really well-earned point here against Arsenal. But Arsenal not in the finest of forms at the moment. They just can't seem to get a decent rhythm going, Arsenal, can they, of results? It's just either draws or losses for them at the moment. And, it's not great, really, if you're an Arsenal fan. But if you're a Sheffield United fan, on the other hand, your team are in, top 7, top 6. And you got players all over the pitch that are working at sort of 110% every game. Like that, is it? It's John Fleck, isn't it? Who scored the goal for them? Like, what a player he is! He's been one of the players that's been with them as well since League One as well. I saw so.
He's been brilliant, and they picked him up from, I think it was Coventry, for next to nothing. And you can say the same about a lot of Sheffield United players. I know that Ender Stevens is still playing for them. I think he joined from Villa for hardly anything, and Lundstrom's been there since League One. And the amazing job that Chris Wilder has done, that I actually did fancy them to get something out of this game. And really, I'm looking at it now and thinking it was a good point for Arsenal, because they've drawn against the top 6 side, and they are in the bottom half. The notes I made were that Arsenal have won 6 games this season, which is actually the same as Villa, and that's just astonishing, really. If someone had said to me, 25 games into the season or whatever, you'll have the same wins as Arsenal, I'd have snapped their hand off, thinking we were looking at European football. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think, Chris, but obviously Aubameyang and Lacazette are Arsenal's outstanding players at the moment. Do they wait for Arsenal to pull this round, or, with Martinelli coming through and looking like a bit of a talent, do Arsenal just say, right, we're starting from scratch, we'll get rid of bigger players?
The main thing, what happened is when Arteta took over, I did say that Arsenal were defending a lot better, but they have really slipped into bad habits again in the last 3 or 4 games. They're just really poor at the back. They give the ball away so much. So I'm watching it now, and every time they've got the ball at the back. They just really don't look like they know what to do with it. And, obviously, Aubameyang's not playing today, but obviously Lacazette is. But he's just wasted up there at the moment. Obviously, where they're down to 10 men as well, they've lost another man. They've put Holding on as well, so they've lost another man in midfield. So, again, I don't think they'll get any money. I think they'll have to sell to buy if they're going to do it this month. But going on their league performance, are they going to be able to sign that sort of world-class player that I think they desperately need?
Yeah, well, if you were Aubameyang, what do you think you'd do? Because I'd be banging on the door to leave.
You'd certainly be thinking about it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I think you'd see how it goes this season. It's looking less and less likely, especially if they lose tonight against Chelsea, that they're actually going to get anything in Europe this season. So I don't know. I don't know what you do, but yeah. Well, just before we go to the Brighton Villa game, Brighton are actually 3-0 down to Bournemouth tonight. So Bournemouth are really on form there. So Brighton Villa at the weekend. Good point for Villa, or should they have won the game? I thought Grealish, his goal was really good, actually. Grealish, he was really well taken, hit really well. The one question I have about Grealish is the whole relegation situation. If you go down, you will probably lose money if you don't sell him now. If you get what I mean. If you sell him now, I think you'll get 10, 15 million more than what you would if you sell him next season and end up in the Championship. But I don't think he'll leave. I don't think he wants to leave. I think he'll want to stay there to the end of the season.
Yeah, I hope he does. I hope he wants to battle it out with us and keep us up. I think if there's anyone who's going to do it, it probably will be him. Like you said, great goal at the weekend, and we've relied on him so many times this season to drag us out a point from a losing position, get us 3 points from a drawing position. And if we were to sell him now in January, I think you're looking at 35 million plus comfortably. Some of the figures that are being quoted for players like Maddison, I think he can easily compete with those kind of figures. If we were to go down, I don't think any Villa fan would blame him for wanting to leave. He gave us 3 years in the Championship where he didn't really need to. I think the first year we got relegated, he may well have had offers to go elsewhere. I don't know whether he turned them down, but while we're in the Championship, he definitely did have offers to go elsewhere, and he stayed there. So we can't ask much more of him. He's a better player than Championship level. So if we were to get relegated, I think you could look at a cut price fee for 15, 20 million, and I think you could get a bit of a bargain with that. But yeah, I think at full time I was pleased with the draw. I think it was a fair result, really. First half we were awful, but we did grow into the game as the second half went on. But the main problem I think I had with it was that we scored with 15 or so minutes to go, and then that was enough. We just wanted to sit back, and it's cost us so many times this season. We were fortunate it didn't this time. Reina made a good save towards the end. But it was worrying that we got to 1-1 against Brighton and thought, well, that's it. We're going to shut up shop because we don't have the players to do that.
Points good enough. Yeah, it's strange, really. I thought personally you could have gone on and got something more out of that game. Like you said, I thought you kind of scored the goal and then kind of went a bit defensive. And I think, I don't mean to sound rude, but Villa defensively at the best of times aren't great. I think you were just inviting the pressure from Brighton. But it was quite risky, but I think you got a point at the end of it. And obviously, I don't know. I really, for your sake, I want to say that they're going to stay up. But the more and more I see the teams around them winning these games, the more and more I think it could be all over for Villa.
Yeah, I think the teams around us are all either hitting form now or they've had their run of sort of 5 or 6 games unbeaten, and it's got them out of it. Like Southampton were in deep trouble and then they went on a good run, Newcastle were in trouble, and then they went on a bit of a decent run. I think the only team yet to have that run are obviously Norwich, who are below us, Bournemouth, who are winning tonight, and West Ham. And I think it's a matter of time before Moyes turns them around. So, yeah, it is not looking good for us at the moment. But, you know, we're 1-1 with Watford tonight. One goal could give us that 3 points we need. We've got Bournemouth coming up. We've got other teams around us coming up. I can't remember who else. But if we do manage to pick up 3 points in the next 10 minutes or so, great. And then if you can get another in the next game, you're all of a sudden you're looking at being sort of 14th. So I don't think it's over yet, but we've got a lot to do. I think bringing in a goal scorer, because we've obviously signed Samatta as of yesterday, was desperately needed. Maybe he can fire us the goals that we need. I know he's done quite well for Genk, so he's got a good scoring record there. And if he can carry that into the English game, I know it's a completely different league, but you never know. I'm remaining hopeful, Chris. I'm remaining hopeful, positive. I've got everything crossed that we have got enough to stay up, but at the moment, I've got to say, I do agree with you. It isn't looking likely.
So next up, we've got 2 games left. So West Ham Everton is the first of those 2 games. Probably, if you had to say 2 of the most inconsistent teams in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, you'd probably say West Ham and Everton, I'd say. And the game really did show that. Obviously, the game ended in a draw. I have to say, though, Everton do look a lot better under Ancelotti in such a short space of time. I think going forward, I don't think they're going to buy anyone in now. But in the summer, if he's given a bit of money, I think he can really do something with that team. Bring in a few players, and Everton are this team that are trying to push for that top 4 spot, but they're far from it at the moment. Let's just say that. West Ham, agree with what you said. I think David Moyes will be able to turn something around there, but I think he again just needs time. Two teams under 2 new managers. So, but I thought the game wasn't great, but I think both teams probably very happy with a draw.
Yeah, it was a poor game really, but another goal for Calvert-Lewin. He's done well since Ancelotti's come in. If he keeps up this scoring record and looking at how English strikers
he has scored tonight as well.
Has he got another one? Yeah, he's the last sort of 5 or 6 games he seems to be finding the back of the net all the time. And with England strikers dropping like flies, you never know. For the Euros, if Rashford and if Kane are out, and it's only going to take one more injury, and we might be looking at maybe picking him for the Euros. But yeah, Ancelotti's done a wonderful job. He's a big name to bring people in the summer. I think they've got to give him a little bit of time to do that and mould the squad to how he wants it. Moyes, I think, was actually quite interesting in his interview after the game, because he was actually quite positive and he was energetic, and it was almost the opposite of what Pellegrini's been in interviews for them. He's down. He's not very enthusiastic about anything, and I thought it was interesting how Moyes spoke about going and winning the game and how he thought they should have attacked a little bit more, because it's almost the opposite of how they have been under Pellegrini.
Yeah, the thing was Pellegrini. I think things just got a bit stale for him. I just don't think that they were going anywhere really. So, but yeah, a good, like I said, good point all round for them. But we'll move on to the Watford Tottenham game, which was probably the worst game of the weekend. I will literally I'll sum this up with what Rich said to us. He said, "Times are bad when a point away at Watford is a good result."
Yeah.
So that's literally sums up the game. I think they're in one. Obviously, they did miss a penalty, Watford, but other than that, it wasn't a great game. I think this is, obviously with no Harry Kane for Tottenham, they really didn't look like they were going to be able to score either throughout the whole game. But not a great game for Tottenham.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I think they had one chance which was cleared off the line by a matter of, I think, a millimetre or something like that. But other than that, didn't really threaten and had Gazaniga to thank at the end with a great penalty save from Deeney. Yeah, two teams that I think will end up mid-table this season, unfortunately for Rich. It's looking like Spurs are sort of set into their inconsistencies, shall we say, and they've been on a little bit of a poor run, but they're obviously going to be fine. I think Mourinho is going to have the summer to mould the squad to how he wants it, and yeah, we'll see where they are next season. I think it'd be a really interesting one to see who actually stays at Spurs next season. But I think big names like Eriksen want to leave, and I wonder if a few more are going to follow if they don't get European football.
I think you might be right there, but obviously Rich, I think he's almost given up this season. But yeah. Okay, so that is it for part 1, and we'll be back in part 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this week's podcast. We're going to go straight into the Football League review, and Liam's going to be doing Championship and League One.
Yeah, so West Brom stayed top despite not playing until last night. They actually ended up losing to Stoke in the end. I had that down as a banker of a win, but they're still top by a point due to Leeds losing again. They lost 1-0 to QPR, and they're now only 4 points clear of third place. The other big news for Leeds was that Phillips got a red card, so he's going to be suspended for 3 games, and that could be a huge loss for them. Fulham, Brentford, Forest and Swansea make up the remaining playoff places. Nottingham Forest beat bottom club Luton by 3-1 on the Sunday. Swansea beat strugglers Wigan, coming from behind to win 2-1. That's 27 points lost from winning positions for Wigan this season. So that's huge for them and a main reason why they're struggling. Brentford could only manage a 0-0 draw with Huddersfield. Fulham beat Middlesbrough 1-0 in the Friday night game. And elsewhere, Barnsley remained in the bottom 3 after losing to a late Bristol City winner. There was a big away win for Blackburn Rovers. I'm making that my score of the weekend because they won 5-0 away at Sheffield Wednesday, who had Massimo Luongo sent off. Lewis Holtby scored twice. I don't know whether you remember him. I'm sure Richard Spurs. Andre Green scored against former club Preston, but that wasn't enough for Charlton, who ended up losing 2-1. Millwall beat Reading by 2-0, and there was a 1-1 draw between Birmingham and Cardiff. The only thing to note really in that game was that 16-year-old Jude Bellingham was on the score sheet again for Birmingham City. Into League One, and Rotherham keep up the pace at the top by beating Bristol Rovers by 3-0. Wycombe bounced back from their 4-0 defeat last week against Sunderland to remain level on points with them. They beat Rochdale 2-1. Sunderland crept into the final playoff place themselves by beating MK Dons 1-0. The other playoff places at the moment go to Ipswich, Coventry and Oxford. Ipswich beat struggling Tranmere by 2-1. Coventry got a great away win at Doncaster by 1-0, but Oxford could only manage a draw away at Gillingham. At the bottom, Bolton's troubles continue after they lost 1-0 at home to Portsmouth. But congratulations to Sol Campbell, who finally picked up his first win as Southend boss, 2-1 away at Accrington Stanley. The other game saw Fleetwood and Shrewsbury play out an entertaining 2-2 draw, and AFC Wimbledon shocked Peterborough by beating them 1-0. Lincoln also beat Blackpool by the same scoreline, and that's up to date with the Championship and League One.
Okay, so League 2, top of the league, Swindon went down 2-0 against Newport. So they are now level on points. So with a game in hand is Exeter. They're in second. They beat Grimsby away by 1-0. Whilst Crewe are in third, they also won 1-0 against Cheltenham. Plymouth were up to fourth as they beat Mansfield 3-1, and Bradford drew 2-2 with Scunthorpe. Bradford were 2 up in that game but ended up drawing. Northampton rise to sixth. They thrashed Morecambe by 4-1. And in seventh just is Cheltenham, obviously after they lost 1-0. At the bottom, Morecambe are actually now bottom on goal difference. Obviously they lost 4-1, as I just said. And Stevenage actually managed to beat Cambridge away 4-0, which is those sorts of results for Stevenage have not come easy. So, great win for them. That lifts them off the bottom. In the National League, Yeovil have actually slipped to third this week. They drew 2-2 with Hartlepool. Yeovil did, however, finish the game with 10 men after Reece Murphy was sent off. So, a bit on predictions now. So, again, Liam won this weekend. He beat myself and Hayden. He got 29 points. I got 19. Hayden got 16. And a big weekend for you this weekend, Liam.
Yes, it is. Massive.
So, so this week, do you want to reveal who the guest is?
I can do, yeah. The guest is my wonderful girlfriend, Laura. So there will be a lot of tense games this week, I think, in the FA Cup.
There is a tradition on this podcast that you do not beat the wives and girlfriends very easily on here. But we'll have all that information put on the social medias over the weekend, and the fixtures the fixtures we've got will be up in the next couple of days. So here we go. Wonders of White. Now, Rich always moans at me because I never ever put any ones on there that are negative about Chelsea, but it's taken me nearly 18 months, but I've managed to find a negative one about Chelsea. So I hope Rich is listening. So Kepa has the worst save percentage of any goalkeeper in the Premier League. In fact, out of the 132 goalkeepers in the top 7 leagues, he ranks 127th in save percentages.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
So take that as how you want. But yeah, that does not look good on paper.
That's astonishing. Yeah, I never would have. That's amazing. Our most expensive keeper in the world, Chris, as you say.
Yeah, he's 5th from bottom in the save percentage rankings. Barcelona are the first team to attempt 500 plus passes in a single half of a football match in La Liga and failing to score since their own record in 05-06 season.
Wow.
Jack Grealish has scored more goals against Brighton than he has against any other side in his senior career. And Spurs have ended a 93 Premier League game run of not being involved in a 0-0 draw after they drew 0-0 at the weekend with Watford.
Nice.
So yeah, that was the Wonders of White for this week. Rich, I hope you're listening because there was a negative Chelsea one in there. So, moving on to the teaser answer. Now, you seem pretty confident that you might know this. However, I don't know why, but David Healy is in my mind. But now come to think of it, did he actually play that many games in the Premier League? I just remember him scoring against England. I don't know why. It just always lives in my mind, that game.
It's that moment.
But I've got some other ones that I've thought of whilst we were recording. One of the other ones I thought of was the West Brom player. Is it Brunt? Or he used to play for West Brom, Chris Brunt. Now, I know he's Northern Ireland. He must have scored a few goals for West Brom.
I think he did score because he used to take their free kicks and stuff.
So I was thinking, yeah.
So the other one I thought of. So I'm sure I've seen the person who it is on something like Match of the Day or some kind of football show, and you know when they bring the caption up of their name and it says their achievement underneath, like I don't know, it'll say, like on Sky, it'll say Gary Neville 2 times Champions League winner or something like that.
This one said,
I'm sure that this said Ian Dowie, Northern Ireland goal scorer in the Premier League.
Right.
And I remember at the time thinking, that sounds ridiculous, but I'm sure that I've seen that somewhere. The only other player that I thought of, maybe Stephen Davis, purely for the amount of games he played in the Premier League. I know he's not a big goal scorer.
So
but
you seem very confident with Ian Dowie. So
it wasn't long ago. I'm sure it was on. I can't remember what football show I was watching. Right, well, it might have been the Championship highlights or something like that. But it definitely said Ian Dowie, Northern Ireland's top goal scorer in the Premier League.
I'm not going to change your mind this week.
He is
we will We'll go with Ian Dowie. Just give me 2 seconds. Set to Northern Ireland. So yeah, you're right. It is Ian Dowie. He's got 33. Chris Brunt was second actually with 24, and Stephen Davies was third, joint third with Keith Gillespie on 17. So yeah,
all about Keith Gillespie. Yeah, he did score a lot, didn't he?
Yeah. So well done to us. Well, I say us, it's you, Liam, again. I got it right.
So
yeah,
somewhere in the memory bank on that one.
Pete, we've got half a point back, so we are coming to catch you up now. But that's it for this week. Just to say, Chelsea are still 1-0. They've got a chance. As usual, it's not taken. So we'll be back next week. So we'll see you then.